Tell us about another movie that has a colon in it.
Okay, Still, a Michael J. Fox movie, which is a documentary by Davis Guggenheim about Michael J. Fox. And it is a really terrific watch. The Michael J. Fox story, which of course is, well known by most people, is that he achieved stardom. I mean, he first got, acting gigs on television when he was a teenager. Then he got the central role in Family Ties. Actually, it wasn't the central role originally, but he made the role that he got in Family Ties his own. He was Alex P. Keaton, and that character kind of became bigger than the series. And suddenly he was everywhere. He was a big star. Spielberg and Zemeckis were making Back to the Future, and they wanted him for Back to the Future, but he couldn't do it because he was working on Family Ties absolutely back to back. So they started shooting Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz. Anyone who's a Back to the Future fan will know this. In fact, if you've read the book, The Movie Doctors, that you and I wrote together some years ago.
What a great work
What a great work that is. There is a section about this. They started shooting with Eric Stoltz. They realized that this wasn't who Marty McFly was absolutely not Eric Stoltz. He was Michael J. Fox. So they went back to the makers of Family Ties and said, no, we really need him. And so they said to Michael J. Fox, okay, here's the thing. And the J, instantly, he's Michael Fox. The J is an actorly affectation, which is to do with not having the same name as somebody else, but also because it's an affectation. He could do it, but he could not miss an hour of filming Family Ties. And so, as we hear him tell in this in the film, he would start at 9 o'clock in the morning, shoot Family Ties until 5 o'clock, be picked up by an Uber or taxi as it was then, that would then take him to Back to the Future. He would then shoot Back to the Future through the night, be taken back to his apartment, get 3 hours sleep, and then be picked up in the morning to be back on set for Family Ties. And he did that for 3.5 months in order to get Back to the Future done. And he said his feeling at the end of it is, how can any of this stuff be any good? Because I'm just in a state of complete exhaustion. Of course, famously, it was hugely good. The show continued to be a hit, and Back to the Future was a runaway hit. Meanwhile, Teen Wolf, which is as he described it, the B-movie teen werewolf movie that he was making, ended up at number 2 in the box office when Back to the Future was number 1. And then, in his late 20s, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And for a long time, he kept working, keeping that diagnosis to himself. And then several years later, he went public with the diagnosis and carried on working, and then also became a campaigner. And the documentary is him now looking back on all of that, the success, the traumas of success, the dealing with the Parkinson's, the campaigning, all seen through the eyes of Michael J. Fox, who is one of the most likable, engaging, funny subjects imaginable. Anyway, here is a quick clip from Still.
I'm here to tell you that administering a successful research program is not rocket science. It's mostly common sense and the will to get things done. Thank you.
I never actually said this to anybody, but I always fantasize saying it. Yeah, you're bigger than me. You'll beat me up, but I'll hit you once, and you'll hurt. And I knew that moment. I wanted to be in the world, and not take this and retreat from the world, and realize it's what I still have to give.
I find it extremely moving, no pun intended, to be here today in the shadow.
The Fox Foundation has revolutionized scientific philanthropy, mobilized the Parkinson's community, and raised nearly $2 billion.
You can see just from that clip that, so his activism is really impressive, but it's the humor that he brings to it when he says that thing about, because he's standing at a press conference and because of his Parkinson's, he's sort of constantly emotional. And he says, I find this very moving, no pun intended. And, and everyone laughs. There's a lovely moment during the interviews, the modern day, the current interviews, and he's got a very bad bruise on the side of his face that's been covered up with makeup, and said, what happened? And he says, I fell over and I broke my cheek on the bedstead. And the guy says, oh, you fell? He says, yeah, this is part of the deal that I fall. Gravity is real, even if you only fall from my height. Which again is a great Michael J. Fox joke and sort of harks back to a joke which he makes earlier on when he gets an award quite early on in his career. And he says, I'm so proud of this award, I feel 4 foot tall. And the thing about him is he's got incredible comic timing. That was the thing that made him such a brilliant presence on screen. And of course, one of the things that Parkinson's does is, will interfere with that timing. And so he talks about the way in which he would develop physical tics that he would use on screen to keep his hand that was in motion originally, keep it moving so that he was able to perform despite everything that was happening to him. And it's, every now and then you find yourself in the company of somebody who has experienced great success and great adversity and has treated both of them with the same, there's that great philosophical thing about if you can treat both those things the same, then, that's a wonderful thing. And you find yourself, he's an absolutely compelling subject, and he's so funny and so honest and so open, and he has done so much and continues to do so much. And he's all the way through the documentary, you kind of think, wow, this is like being in the company of the best possible person to make you firstly feel positive about life, and secondly to look back on an extraordinary body of work that he's done and realize what a brilliant performer he has been, but also now what a sort of powerful advocate he is. And one of the things the doctors, do you remember some time ago I reviewed a documentary called The Possibilities Are Endless, which was about Edwin Collins, and Edwin Collins sort of physically refinding himself. And I said, really, it's a love story between him and Grace Maxwell. This is absolutely a love story between Michael J. Fox and his wife, Tracy. And there are just fantastic recollections in it when he remembers that the thing that made him fall for Tracy was that when he first met her, because she's an actor, Tracy Pollan, and he said something offhand to her on set, and she called him a complete fruitcaking something. And he said, nobody spoke to me like that. And he immediately thought, she's the most brilliant woman in the world. And there is a really, really moving moment in the documentary when the interviewer says to him, he said, how's Tracy? And he says, I'm going to do this in injustice because he says, how's Tracy? And he says, married to me, still. Which again, it's the pause between the married to me and the still. That's right. And at the center of it is that title, still. What does still mean? When he was a kid, he was constantly in motion. He was, frenetically full of energy. He was constantly on the move. And actually, there's all these brilliant sort of clip montages of him running his way through Back to the Future and running his way through Casualties of War and constantly moving. And then, of course, later on, as that joke about, I find it very moving, no pun intended, the fact that what he's searching for is stillness. And through the documentary, what we learn is that stillness that he finds, and I'm sorry if this sounds cliched, but he finds through his relationship and through his family. And the use of clips is brilliant. There's, dramatizations and family footage and really, really well-chosen movie clips. And I sat down to watch the doc not knowing anything about it. It's Apple TV and also in select cinemas. And I was just completely charmed by it and loved it, absolutely loved it. And it's called Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. And it's just a real bump, particularly at the moment, the way the world is at the moment, just to hear somebody speaking so positively and so enthusiastically and so, empathetically or empathically, whatever the word is, about the world, having faced adversity and success with equal candor, I think is really remarkable. You'll love it. You absolutely watch it. The time just flies by.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.